Flight 229, you're clear for takeoff.
Just like a flight plan, you have to know where you're going and how you will get there when you plan for retirement. Let Ryan Fleming help you chart out a course for your retirement with his intimate knowledge of financial planning and the airline industry. It's time for the Pilot's Advisor.
It's another edition of the Pilot's Advisor. Welcome. I'm Walter Storholt alongside Ryan Fleming, financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, serving you worldwide, based out of Georgia. You can find us online at FlemingFG.com. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the status of the American Pension Plan. But before we get into all of that, first, a quick hello to Ryan. How are you this week, sir?
Good morning, Walter. How are you doing?
Doing well. You're in the midst of all sorts of repair going on in your life, right?
Hitting the reset button. I have one knee replaced. I have back surgery on Friday, and then I have another knee replacement in the future.
That's a lot going on all at once, my friend.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
I can hear it in your voice, just how pleasant that is for you. So, it sounds like with all this going on, you're taking a little break from flying, still enjoying the time at home, even though it's laid up a little bit.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now that makes flying not all that enjoyable. So I just thought it'd be a good time to get done that I needed to get done. The hard part is sleeping. I just have not been sleeping very well. It's completely normal where I guess, you get a knee replaced. It's really, really painful at night and you ache. Mm-hmm. So our 7 a.m. podcast time is just wonderful for me this morning.
I can verify, not from a knee replacement, but from when I tore the ACL and meniscus, and then especially after the surgery, it was very difficult to sleep for a while after that. I mean, for a good while, especially once you stopped taking the pain meds, then it became even more difficult to sleep. Just you have to almost reteach yourself how to sleep for a couple of months before things start to, I guess, feel normal again.
What's really hard is, when you're sleep deprived, you kind of toss and turn trying to want to get to sleep, and that's the last thing you can really do when you have an injured knee.
Yeah.
I mean, you almost have to lay on your back for, weeks on end, and it just gets really, really tough.
And I'm not a back sleeper, so that was very difficult for the first couple of weeks, trying to just, for whatever reason, when I'm on my back, I'm wide awake. And so it's just very difficult to sleep that way. So that was definitely a struggle for much of that recovery. But
well, that's the benefit I get. My back is all messed up anyway, so I love laying on it. So anyway, good morning, everybody. Life's grand.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, Ryan's body is in shambles a little bit. Is it similar to the status of the pension plan? Look at that segue, Ryan. Amazing.
Oh, my. Man. You are very, very talented. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I wanted to talk about the pension plan today because, the way that we look at retirement has drastically changed over the last couple of decades, and we just don't have the same situation that our parents or grandparents had working in this country. And I think that as a society, we really, really haven't caught up to that. And I'll let you give us a good segue into that.
Well, we've all seen, I think, headlines occasionally about pension plans and, I see it like right now on the national 6:30 news, pension plans disappearing across the country. Tonight, how it's affecting Americans and, that kind of thing. And so let's take a kind of stock of where we stand in pension plan land right now in the United States, how these changes truly have materialized and the way that you've seen them affect people plan for retirement. Just from your evidence, if we want to call it that, how many companies do you come across in your area, kind of your home base of Georgia? But I know that you also have nationwide and even a worldwide view as well due to your travels. But how many companies do you come across in your meetings with clients that still are actually providing pension plans?
Well, we can just talk about the airline industry specifically. And after 9/11, a lot of the majors, legacy carriers, lost their pension plans. Delta, United, American, all those that used to have a very nice pension, it got taken away. And so when you look at the landscape of pension plans in the airlines, for the most part, it's just FedEx and UPS. It's the cargo carriers that still have a pension. Now, the other carriers are bumping up their B fund contributions, which is basically the company puts in a certain percentage of whatever you make each year into your 401k. So they're doing other stuff to really beef that up. But we still don't have a pension, and it changes the dynamic when you look at retirement planning for sure.
So let's dive into then the how. How has today's retirement planning changed with the lack of a pension for so many people and even pilots specifically?
Yeah, well, the first thing I would like to bring up is I think it's a natural phase of life. I mean, I think that these companies realize that, hey, these pension plans cost a lot of money. And then the government had a lot of regulations that made them keep that much more cash on hand to guarantee they could pay those pensions. And over time, it just became a growing problem. And of course, a bankruptcy or even a restructuring gives these companies a great opportunity to try to get rid of those pension plans. And I think that's what a lot of the airlines did. And their job is to be as profitable as possible. So I think it's a very unfortunate thing. But what it does is it puts a lot more of the onus on, the worker to actually save for retirement, make sure they're paying themselves first, to make sure they're doing all the right things so that they can have a great retirement. Where you remember your grandpa, I mean, he worked at the same company for 40 years. And when he retired, he took his lunchbox, went home, and he's going to get a check in the mail for the rest of his life. Boom, done. Didn't even have to save anything. And we are not in that landscape anymore.
Have you ever wanted to learn more about the academic approach to investing and saving and planning for retirement that Ryan talks about here on The Pilot's Advisor? Well, if so, go visit pilotsadvisor.com. pilotsadvisor.com. You can watch a quick webinar on the academic approach to investing. It'll show you how not to speculate and gamble with your money. It's all based on Nobel Prize winning research. Only takes about 10 minutes to get through the video and watch it. Going to be worth your time, I promise you. Go check it out right now, pilotsadvisor.com. It's a webinar that covers that academic approach to investing. pilotsadvisor.com. All right, back to the show. Now folks are having to create their own pensions, or is it a different variety of solution where we're not necessarily trying to replace the pension, but just some other strategy for replacing that income that comes through the door?
You basically have to save enough money to create your own pension, to create your own annuity that spits out that money each year. And unfortunately, I think many of the people out there are way, way behind on how much they actually need to save to continue the lifestyle that they're enjoying during their working years. When I start talking about how I actually sent out a campaign on this recently, and it was a little bit more talking about different areas of the country and how long $1 million nest egg would last you in retirement. But beyond that, I think that used to be the magic number for people. Like, oh, if I could save $1 million, then I can retire and live this glamorous lifestyle. Well, with inflation and where we are today, that's not the case at all. I mean, $1 million isn't going to last you very long, or, it's not going to give you that great of a retirement lifestyle.
Yeah, may not be able to keep up with the pace at which you lived your life pre-retirement. So that's not the most important number, just that lump sum. So many other factors go into it. Now, Ryan, I know you probably faced this situation a lot in the past. Do you still face it is the question, and how do you deal with it, of course. But what about people who have been offered some sort of pension buyout, where they're offered, hey, we'll give you this lump sum of money at retirement instead of the monthly income? How do you advise the folks that kind of find themselves straddling that fence?
This is very much a case-by-case situation because, a lot of it depends on the company, what they're offering, how much that person has on hand already. It's a very, very personal decision, and it really comes down to a math problem. I mean, you basically have to make some assumptions and do the math. And what it comes out, maybe even looking at family history. The thing that I talk about, because this happens a lot with people, say, retiring from FedEx. They constantly want to know if it's going to benefit them to delay their pension for a year, or, there's a ton of different options of how you can take your pension. And, inevitably people want to go over their different options, which makes sense. But in many, many cases, if a company's offering something different from the standard pension, there's a reason for it. And that reason is it benefits them. So what we do is we go through and analyze that person's situation, but then start putting math to it. And when we start putting math to it, I'm always amazed at how the reactions of some of these clients that I have, that they're like, well, that's not good for me. And I'm like, well, I know. But before, it looked so glamorous before they looked at the math. They were like, wait, so I could get an extra, $4,000 a month in retirement for the rest of my life? And I'm like, well, yeah, you could, but let me show you why you shouldn't. With everything you do in life, Walter, there's an opportunity cost. And I think that, sometimes we don't fully analyze what we're giving up to get that carrot that's dangled out in front of us.
It's the equal and opposite reaction, in a way, that Mr. Newton taught us a while back, right? There's going to be a second side or a second consequence, maybe, to our actions and to our decisions.
And since we're talking about this, I just want to throw this out to some of my clients. I know, as you guys get closer to retirement, we start analyzing some of these things. But if you're a year or two out from retirement, reach out to me and let's go through this. And we can talk about some of the different options and what your retirement could look like. Because I think actually putting it to paper and making some assumptions and building the plan together really opens some eyes and kind of starts you not only seeing what retirement's really going to look like. And I think that visualization is really important as well.
Well, hey there. We hope you're enjoying listening to the Pilot's Advisor today. Just wanted to take a quick moment from the show to remind you that if you have any questions ever about what Ryan talks about on the program, need any assistance with your financial planning, need some guidance to get to and through retirement, or whatever financial questions might be on your mind, don't ever hesitate to reach out. The simple way to get in touch with Ryan is to pick up the phone and call or text 843-475-3038. Again, that's 843-475-3038. You can also find Ryan online at FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. And as always, we put contact information to get in touch with Ryan in the description or the show notes section of the program. So just check it out on whatever app you're using, and it's easy to get in touch with Ryan. All right, now back to the show. One more question on this, Ryan, and it's about the sneakiness of inflation. Whether someone has that actual pension, that stream of income, or a stream of income that behaves like a pension, maybe the annuity you were talking about, or some other method of having money roll in. How do you plan for inflation, since that income stream's not going to have the same buying power in the future?
Well, I look at inflation and look at average inflation across, you could look at X number of years, but it's going to be somewhere between 2 and 3%. The bad part is a lot of people don't take into account inflation. Sometimes they don't take into account taxes, which are two things that put a massive drain on your retirement plans. And, when you have 3% falling off your buying power every single year, it's a big deal. And what they've actually done with some of these pensions too, with companies is, they used to be cost of living adjusted, COLA adjusted. Well, little things that companies have started doing is start still having maybe a pension, but they dropped the inflation adjustment each year. So you might have a pension that, let's say it was $40,000 this year, or $40,000 every year is about what it spits out. Well, $40,000 10 years from now is not going to be nearly as much buying power as it is today. So we kind of call it a pension plan that's dying on the vine. So that's another thing that you have to take into account.
All of these things are important to think about, whether it be inflation or how to make sure income is rolling into your account in retirement, that we even covered kind of talking a little bit about how much money you need to save for retirement versus expenses and lifestyle needs. You can see how just one little thing, talking about pensions, can lead to all these important discussions. So if you'd like to continue this conversation and discussion with Ryan, again, reach out by calling 843-475-3038 or go online to FlemingFG.com. Contact info in the description of today's show. Ryan, thank you for the help and the guidance talking about American pension plans and the current status. And hey, we reassembled the ways to plan for retirement, even with the lack of a pension plan in place, just like we're reassembling you to be bigger, better, and stronger.
That's a good summary there, Walter.
We had a good segue from you into the show, and we can back out of it in a similar fashion. So there you go. Full circle on today's show. In all seriousness, my friend, feel better and get healthy and back on your feet soon. And we know you'll be recharged up and ready and raring to go right around the corner.
We appreciate it, Walter. You have a wonderful day.
All right, man. You do as well. That is Ryan Fleming. Thank you so much for joining us on today's show. We'll talk to you next time right back here on The Pilot's Advisor. You've been listening to The Pilot's Advisor, featuring Ryan Fleming, a financial advisor at Fleming Financial Group, serving clients worldwide, but based out of Charleston, South Carolina. If you have any questions for Ryan on what we've talked about on today's show, maybe a future topic idea, or want to talk more about getting a complimentary review of your financial plan, here's the best ways to get in touch. You can go online to the website, FlemingFG.com. That's FlemingFG.com. You can also email Ryan. It's simply ryan@FlemingFG.com. Or you can call or text to get in touch. 843-475-3038 is the number. That's 843-475-3038. 3038. Thanks for listening to The Pilot's Advisor, and don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and many more locations. So whatever app you like to use, search for The Pilot's Advisor podcast today and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Information is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute tax, investment, or legal advice. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action.